Stamford Bridge, det blir London-derby, Chelsea mot Arsenal. Det råder såklart inget tvivel om exakt vilket möte som historiskt sett har den största rivaliteten i engelsk fotboll. Förra helgens Manchester United mot Liverpool. Historiskt sett ja, men nutidens, det moderna rivalmötet nummer 1, ja, det är faktiskt mellan två personer, mellan två managers, ni vet vilka. Mourinho mot Wenger. Ett nytt kapitel ska skrivas i ett läge som är mer infekterat än någon gång tidigare. Nu möts de igen med de där rubrikerna, de där händelserna, den där icke-handskakningen färskt i minnet från Community Shield. Det där barnsliga beteendet som båda stod för. Nu är det dags för ännu ett möte alltså.
Mourinho is the best, end of. Wenger, 15 years ago, okay, he was the best. Mourinho come, he's shown he's the best manager.
Most childish one.
Childish, Wenger. Definitely Wenger.
You're totally Mourinho.
Wenger, I think I'm surprised he still got a job.
And Mourinho?
Oh, he's definitely a sign.
Ja, det är otroligt mycket Mourinho naturligtvis vid Stamford Bridge. Så vi försöker balansera upp det där genom att träffa en som skriver och tycker ganska mycket om Arsenal. Följ med! Nu är vi hemma i soffan hos David Udo. Det här är en fan-tidning som heter Gooner som har funnits i nästan 30 år. Och det är den största när det gäller de som hänger runt Arsenal. Och David här är en av de som skriver. Hi David.
Hello.
Nice to be here.
Thank you for coming all the way to London.
Arsenal-colored sofa.
Absolutely.
Of course.
My choice, not my girlfriend's.
But I saw your neighbor was a Crystal Palace fan.
Yeah, there are 2 days every season we don't really talk to each other. But we get on okay at the moment. Although if Palace keep on improving, they turn into my rivals. So.
New rivals. Please tell us about the Gooner. It's quite big, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the very few remaining Arsenal fanzines. We've been going since 1987. We're still selling 5 figures every single issue. It's going strong. We've got a regular podcast, and they've got this guy who sort of signs up for every media-related appearance every now and then. So yeah, we're still going relatively strong.
And you write what kind of articles?
Basically, whatever my editor tells me to write.
Okay.
We had a recent post-tournament signings article on people that Arsenal bought at the end of one season and their debuts in a pre-season friendly, and my piece was on Anders Limpar.
Please show us.
Yeah, sure. This was Anders Limpar making his debut in the Makita tournament at Wembley.
Okay.
Back in 1990, I think it was.
Yeah, he was too early. 20 years too early on,
absolutely.
On the pitch.
Oh, if we could have signed Anders Limpar in the transfer window just gone, that would have been absolutely fantastic. But we had to make do with the goalkeeper.
Okay, so talking about that, we begin there with the latest, the transfer window, and your point of view, and what do you write about that and the situation for the club? You ended up with a goalkeeper.
Just a goalkeeper. I mean, unfortunately, I wrote an article in the issue at the end of last season saying, prepare yourselves, this is what's going to happen in the transfer window. Everyone knows we need a goalkeeper and that Peter Cech is available, and we will get him. However, we also need a centre forward. We also need a defensive midfielder. I had a shopping list of 2 or 3 players to choose from in both positions, but Arsenal being Arsenal will go, not too sure. One of the defensive midfielders would have been Morgan Schneiderlin. Of course, Manchester United came in and got him straight away. Arturo Vidal was available from Juventus, and we thought we'll have him. So Bayern München came in and got him straight away. Arsenal panicked and couldn't find another one and have had to make do with Coquelin. With regards to a centre forward, Wenger maintains there wasn't anybody. We flirted with Real Madrid over Benzema, but that kind of came and went, and it was kind of a repeat of what we did with Luis Suarez and Gonzalo Higuain 2 years ago. Players that we wanted, but ultimately we couldn't make it happen. And I warned supporters in that issue that that's the way the transfer window is going to go, and unfortunately I was right.
Yeah. So what's the really opinion? Is there one opinion, or is it like 2 opinions about this one?
It's not so much an opinion. There's a feeling of sheer frustration because there is between 170 and 225 million pounds in the banks. The money's there to spend on the players. Players were available. As mentioned, we could have brought in Schneiderlin from Southampton or Vidal from Juventus, who were both available and they were affordable, but we failed on that. There are strikers out there, as Manchester United proved with Anthony Martial from Monaco. If you're willing to put the money on the table, the players are available, but Arsenal aren't really a football club anymore. They're a business, and there's no guarantee of return on your investment if you're going to spend that money on a player. I mean, Benzema would have been available for something like 60 or 70 million pounds, but when we want to resell him in 3 years' time, we'll only get 5 or 10 million.
Is this a question about Arsene Wenger, or is it about the club, the board?
That's a great question.
Do you have the answer?
This is it. You've got the Arsenal AGM coming up in October, I think. Unfortunately, I can't go, but one of the questions going to be put forward is how do transfers actually work here? Does Arsene Wenger have control over everything, or does he have a choice of players and the deals have to be negotiated by Ivan Gazidis, Richard Law, and ultimately signed off by the 70% owners, Stanley Kroenke? The fact is, we as fans don't know. If ultimately everything begins and starts with Arsene Wenger, then that's a major concern. As everyone knew at the end of last season, we had a very good team, but we weren't as good as Chelsea, weren't as good as Manchester City. They've gone out and bought players. Arsenal relied on one goalkeeper, even though other players were available. So there are questions that need to be answered as to whether it's the manager at fault, the board at fault, or both of them.
You, as a magazine,
Yes.
do you have a standing point?
It does vary from writer to writer.
Okay.
People like Peter LeBeau and Howard Lamb, other people that I've dealt with, they're very, very strong and pro-Wenger. And from a footballing point of view, me as well. We play great football, and when it all clicks, we look better than most teams in Europe. However, in terms of recruitment and strengthening the team, we are weak, and there are other people like the editor and chief writer, my good friend Kevin Witcher. He has the same stance as me in the sense that Wenger was a brilliant manager for about 18 years, but he's probably taken it as far as he can, and he can't cope with 21st century football, and he's probably, he's taken it as far as he can.
When will this be a pressure too hard for him to stay, do you think?
The 1 year we don't finish in the top 4.
Yeah, as long as he does that.
That's his requirement. If you qualify for the Champions League, you.
So that's the business part, do you mean, for Arsenal as a club?
Yeah, very much
more
so.
doing business on a top 4 position than in Europe,
Completely.
rather than go for titles. Is that the?
In terms of the club owner and the club board, yeah, because that's what makes the money, that what completes the turnover, and that's their aim. And ultimately, their target is for the club to continue to sell 60,000 tickets every fortnight, which it is, to sell out or renew our season tickets at the end of every season, which they do. And my understanding is there's a waiting list of about 15,000 people for a season ticket. Ivan Gazidis at the last annual general meeting used the expression supply and demand. And as long as people keep buying everything, there's nothing to worry about. So if we're finishing 4th, making all the TV money with regards to Champions League and selling out the prime programmes on Sky Sports on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, that's great. If we're finishing 4th and getting all the prize money, remaining one of the top 4 clubs in this country, that's great. The 1 year we finish 5th, that'll be interesting because we're not spending the money we already have. And if we use the Champions League TV money, there's less requirement as far as the owner's concerned to spend more money. So I think at that point it might be time for a change. But like I say, as long as we finish 4th, the job is done.
Talking about interesting, there's another chapter soon, another episode of the Wenger Mourinho. Just think about it for a minute or so. Kan lyssna på några röster först från Stamford Bridge om just nya kapitlet, nästa avsnitt i soppan av Wenger Mourinho.
I think Jose Mourinho is very subtle in his jokes and player management style. I think he always has the psychological advantage when it comes to those big matches. I was actually surprised that he lost in the last encounter that they had between the two of them. But awesome personality, awesome track record, lovely man. I'm expecting great things.
But in Premier League, Mourinho always wins. So it doesn't matter. Mourinho's will always be better.
What do you think about their behaviors?
Okay, from both sides I think it's poor. Because in the Community Shield they didn't shake hands. Okay, fair enough, you do what you want. But when Chelsea won 6-0 in Stamford Bridge and then Wenger, he pushed him like strangle, I think that's just poor. Because as a manager you're responsible for the team You got to be a role model. So I think they're poor. They need to sort it out, both of them.
What do you think about that relationship, those two between?
They obviously don't get on, do they? But
What do you make of it?
oh, look, they're professionals, and
They are when they're not shaking hands.
yeah, look, I think Mourinho gets a rough deal sometimes. I mean, if Mourinho had pushed Wenger, it would be all over the kind of news. But the fact that Wenger did it, everyone seems to think, you know, I guess it doesn't get as much hype as what it would have the other way. So, look, hopefully we beat him, and Mourinho, still gets bragging rights over him.
Okay.
They just love to hate each other, and that's human nature. We just love to hate someone sometimes.
Who is the most childish one of them?
I'd say Wenger, because he takes a personal.
Of course.
No, he takes a personal. It's just a game at the end of the day.
And it just will go on and on and on?
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah.
No ending?
Nah, it's one of those love stories that doesn't end.
That's some pro Mourinho voices from Stamford Bridge. What's your opinion about this vendetta?
Vendetta is actually the perfect word to describe it. I think they both really admire each other, and they both look at different things that the other manager does and think, I need to do that myself, but I can't publicly admit it. Because let's face it, it's not a well-hidden secret. They kind of hate each other. I think everyone knows that. But I do think it's a vendetta in the sense that they see that guy's doing some things better than me. Yeah. I should do them better. I mean, Chelsea didn't have a great start to the season, lost a couple of matches, and to be honest, Chelsea panic bought in getting Pedro in from Barcelona. But he looks over at Arsene Wenger, who doesn't really buy the players that Mourinho would in the same position. But Wenger's still getting a top four finish every year. And Mourinho's thinking to himself, I don't think I could do that. Maybe there's things he's doing that I should do better.
What do you think Wenger could take from Mourinho? What would you like to have from Mourinho in Wenger managership?
Mourinho's adaptable in the sense that he changes the way his team plays in certain situations. If they've got an easy game, a home game against, I don't know, one of the newly promoted teams or someone who should lose, Mourinho goes out, he gets the team 4-0 up at half-time, and then the second half turns into a training session.
Not always this season.
No, not this season, as my Crystal Palace neighbour will know.
Okay.
But if they've got a difficult game, like we saw last season, if they come to Arsenal and they just need a draw for the sake of it, Mourinho uses that expression that he didn't used to like, parking the bus, because he goes into the game thinking, I just need to draw 0-0, I'll get that, I'll be quite happy, and job done as far as he's concerned. But whether Arsenal are playing Norwich City at home, Bayern Munchen away, Arsenal play the same method every single time. We need to keep 75% possession, and we will eventually pass the ball into the goal. There was one game, sorry to interrupt, but there was one game last season when we went away to Manchester City, when we saw a different Arsenal.
Suddenly we thought this is a new Arsenal.
It was a Mourinho Arsenal.
Yeah,
it was like, all we need to do is nick an early goal and then we'll defend. We'll go deeper because they will not pass us. And from a different point of view, that was the best Arsenal performance from last season.
So that's the old Arsenal, actually.
George Graham Arsenal.
Yeah, George Graham. It's a transformation of the club from Highbury to Emirates, from 1-0 to the Arsenal to the flary 4-0 to the Arsenal. Do you like that transformation or not? You have been a Gooner since...
Well, I'm 34. I'm 35 in a couple of weeks, and my dad took me to Arsenal for the first time in November 1988. So it's my 27th season going to see Arsenal.
That qualifies you.
Whether I like it or not, it's obsession. But if we could, like I say, when this Arsene Wenger team plays their very best, like that goal they scored against Norwich City a couple of years ago, I mean, it was delicious, and no other club in this country could score a goal like that. But like I said, when we played away at Manchester City last season, and we defended, and it was that game when you saw the best out of Mertesacker and Koscielny and Coquelin and people like that. And like I say, if we could do it the Mourinho way, in the sense that if we're playing an easy game and we play our sexy football, as Ruud Gullit used to refer to it as, that'd be fab. But if it's a difficult game and we defend rigidly, but we nick a goal here or there to get a 2-0 win away from home, that'd be a delicious Arsenal. So if I could have both, if I could be greedy and have both, that'd be the best.
I remember when I was at the press conference like 10, 12 years ago, maybe, or something like that. Maybe it was 15 years with us, and they were still at the Highbury. I asked him about the coming move, and he was really scared. He was quite honest with that.
Yes.
Do you think Arsenal as a club has managed the move from Highbury to Emirates?
They've managed it as best they can. They weren't completely honest when it came to answering the questions put to them at press conferences, in the sense that, is this going to affect your ability in the transfer market? And the club's response was, no, of course it won't. And with hindsight, and with recent admissions from Wenger, we had to sell players. You know, we had something like a 350 or 400 million pound mortgage.
Yeah.
And if someone comes to you and offers you 30 million pounds for one of your best players, and you can replace them with a cheap player for £2.5 million from a business point of view, it makes sense. And for 8 to 10 years, Wenger's target, as mentioned previously, was just finish in the top 4, keep that money coming in. The mortgage has been sorted out, and we are in the position now where we can spend £35 million on Sanchez.
But you don't.
No, not when we want to.
No.
I mean, we are still ultimately a business run by Stanley Kroenke, and we're running the same ways as American sports franchises, which is as long as we sell out the ground, the job is done. I mean, when it comes to American football, did you know he owns the St. Louis Rams? I mean, do you know who the St. Louis Rams are? I mean, have they ever won the Super Bowl? I mean, nobody really knows who they are, but he sells out his tickets every week. Therefore, his job is done, and that was our job for 8 years. Did we handle it brilliantly? No. Did we handle it as best we could? Regressively, yeah.
But yeah, that's from a club point of view. But as you as a fan, do you like the atmosphere? Do you like to be there to watch this new team on this new stadium? Do you like it? You have the clock.
Well, great question. Do I like it? No.
You don't?
Not really. It's very, very frustrating. In the sense that with the players we've got, we've got the potential to win the league, but we won't because we only play in one way. Like as mentioned previously, if we're playing Bayern München away or Norwich City at home, we will play the same Arsenal way. We will keep the ball for 75% of the time, and as long as we walk the ball in twice for goals, then the job is done. And that's the frustrating thing. There's no adaptability, and it's frustrating.
And it's the new Arsenal.
It is the new Arsenal at the moment. I mean, that's the frustrating thing about the transfer market that's just gone. At the end of last season, we looked great. And the last podcast we did, it was odd in the sense that it was me and the 3 other people. We were very optimistic. We all went in with the same attitude. In the FA Cup final, we were brilliant. The last 3 league games of the season, we were brilliant. If we just sign these 3 players we need, we could win the league. So, of course, Arsenal deliberately frustrate us and they don't sign 2 of those
So now
players.
you're bitter again. It's not boring Arsenal, it's the bitter Arsenal, isn't it?
That's your description of me, but I'm not arguing with it.
You're not.
No.
So what will be the next chapter, Wenger and Mourinho, this time?
It will be really interesting, actually. Notwithstanding the Community Shield, which doesn't really count because that's a glorified pre-season friendly, Wenger has never beaten Mourinho in a competitive match. So, but the way that Chelsea have started this season and them still looking very dodgy at the back, Arsenal got the chance there, even though it's a game at Stamford Bridge. If Arsenal go out and they try and defend rigidly, but at the same time attack Chelsea, the game is there for Arsenal's taking. And if Arsenal win, we could see things turning potentially. But things are called predictable for a reason, and I think Wenger will go into the game a slightly bit afraid, and Chelsea will come at us. And if they get the first goal, I don't think there's a way past them.
and what happens in the dugout right outside the lines, you can't even predict that. You can't even think about it.
Well, I can guarantee
could you guess it? The next headline of the Gooner?
It'll be same again. I would have thought it'll be the headline on the next issue, in the sense that Arsenal don't get anything in the transfer window. And when it comes to the big Chelsea game, the managers won't shake hands. Chelsea will get the first goal and go on to win 2-0 with a goal in each half.
Okay.
I hope that I'm wrong.
And Arsenal is being 4th.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Football's an easy game in that way.
Okay. Thanks for telling us the truth.
My pleasure, I think.
Thanks, David.
No worries. Thank you, Ola.
Nice to meet you.
My pleasure.
Subscribe to From TV on YouTube and subscribe to Fans of Chelsea as well.
Vad säger katten?